Hello, everybody out there, except for our listeners, and a very special hello to everybody else. This is Across the Pond. This is QJ's Adventures. I got my best friend, Kat, with me, listening to...
Oh, I'm your best friend.
You're my best friend across the pond, aren't you?
Oh, wow, that's very specific.
Hello to all my best friends who aren't Kat, and welcome. I'm glad you're here with me, all my other best friends.
So it's not just everyone not across the
If that
pond
makes any
is
sense,
your
I'm
best
glad you're
friend.
here, still listening. Kat's gonna listen to all of the stuff I did this month. And
Yay!
do you want to hear about all the new things I did this month? Well...
No, I want to hear about the old things you did this month.
Oh, good! Because I didn't do anything new this month. I don't know why, but I spent...
Wait, actually...
Well, I spent this month reading books I've already read, watching TV shows I've already seen, watching movies that I've already watched.
God.
It was like...
You're such a loser.
I was like...
This is like if I
was in this little...
This is like if I was like, oh, welcome to movies. I'm going to talk about Shrek and only Shrek. What is this?
We'd probably have viewers if you did that, so...
Should we do a Shrek special episode?
No!
It'd be great.
We already have to record the B movie.
Oh, yeah, we do. I forgot about that. Let's do that sometime.
Yeah, I mean, started off by wanting to finally start reading Lord of the Rings. And I read, the prologue and the editor's notes and a bunch of stuff about, like the history of Middle Earth. And I was like, this is way more interesting to me than it should be. But so I finished that and I was like,
That's because
okay,
you're a nerd.
I have to go back and read The Hobbit first. So I reread The Hobbit and I'm just like, this is the cutest book ever. It's so fun. I love Bilbo and I love the dwarf language. I wrote down the alphabet in my journal so that I can write secret notes to other people who know the dwarf letters. And I loved all the songs. And it's just such a fun little adventure. Like, it made me feel whimsical reading it again. I love The Hobbit.
You know what they should do for that book?
Adapt it into one film and leave it alone?
Yeah, they should totally not write a bunch of fan fiction and then add it and then make 3 films. That would be a terrible idea. Let's just make 1 film.
Let's just let's not even make a film. Let's make a bunch of a series of shorts, and call them The Unexpected Party and Riddles in the Dark, and the battle with the I forget what the term is for the wolves that the goblins worked with, but and
wargs.
Yes, wargs, and meeting Smaug and him actually being red and gold and not just plain old boring black.
Yeah. Although, Benedict Cumberbatch did do the motion capture for Smaug that one time, and that's pretty good. That was, better than the entire movie.
I love The Hobbit.
Just watching Benedict Cumberbatch crawl around on the floor. It's great, I love it.
So now, I can start reading Lord of the Rings. Finally.
Yeah.
And...
You could have done that already, but you didn't.
No, because I wanted to reread The Hobbit because I love The Hobbit!
I find it really weird that you want to read them before you watch them.
Why?
What is this? Because everyone hates those books. Everyone's always like, they're really boring. I got 20 minutes in and then I stopped. And I guess you like reading, so that's kind of different.
But people say that about the films too. But I think most of the people that say that about the books love the films, and then they're like, I guess I'll love the source material, even though I've never read another book in my entire life since I was in 4th grade and it was required of me. So I'll tackle this beast. Lord of the Rings is basically Mount Everest for a reader, and people are just like, oh, elves, what else is there to it? I know it's very overwhelming, and it's also very overrated, from what I know.
It's basically like Everest, and everyone's like, elves, what else is there?
I'm gonna repeat everything
I say. No, that was just hilarious.
No,
I really
from what
enjoyed
I understand, it's very deep and very, very detailed and
There's
heavy.
a lot of really long descriptions.
Yeah, and it's a lot to read, and it's probably going to take me a really long time, because, I don't know, I really like light reading, but I have a feeling I'm going to really enjoy this if I focus.
Yeah.
Anyway, I also read Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban for the 6th time.
Oh, why? Why we gotta do this?
What What's your...
How often do we have to talk about Harry Potter on
We
this
don't have
show?
to talk about it that much. I'm just saying this is the 6th time that I've been reading this series. Well, it's the first time I've been reading it with the British text, and I have, like 60 sticky notes in the pages where they use British words instead of American words. This,
Oh, this is nostalgic. You said you were going to do this ages ago.
I did it with, book 2. Yeah, that
Oh,
was like
wow.
a year ago.
Tell me the best ones. What are the best British phrases you've learned from Harry Potter? I'm excited now. I want to talk about Harry Potter more. You've actually made me want to.
I mean, they're honestly not very interesting. It's just,
Oh, in that case, don't
it's
bother.
just stuff like Ron saying, get out of it instead of get away from here.
Get out of it. We do say that. Oh, that's entertaining to me. No one else will find that entertaining.
Yeah.
Anyway, get out of
I'm
it with this
flipping through
Harry
the book.
Potter
They use different
nonsense.
font for certain characters, like letters, and sadly they don't have illustrations at the beginning of the chapters, which is really sad. But the covers of the
That's
books are
trash.
beautiful, and I've been that sound, if you can hear it, is me flipping all the sticky notes at the edge of my book. And the 6th read through of Prisoner of Azkaban is not as thrilling as the first 5. About the first half of the book, I was a little bored because it's just a lot of exposition
Bored?
and a lot of, in case you're a stupid 12-year-old reading this book and you haven't read the first 2 books, I'm going to coddle you and tell you all about Harry Potter and his friends and explain to you what Quidditch is and explain about the 4 Hogwarts houses and who the teachers are and why Snape hates Harry and blah, 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 blah. And just
I feel like
stop the
wait,
recapping.
wait, no. Surely telling everyone why Snape hates Harry isn't a recap, though. They don't mention that in the first 2, isn't it? Because, like,
No,
he loved Harry's mum or whatever.
that's in book 7.
There's no way that's mentioned in book... Yeah, then what are you talking about? Since when do they mention why Snape hates Harry in book 3?
No, just, well,
That's what you said. You just said that. Don't
explaining
act like I'm
that
making
he hates
things
Harry.
up.
Well, as far as
Okay, that's
Harry
fine
knows,
then, whatever,
Snape
yeah.
hates Harry because he hated his father when they were at school together.
Oh, okay.
And
Fair.
I don't know, I hate all the recapping. It's so dumb. I mean, I can't...
And you hate time travel, don't you?
I do not like time travel, but the okay thing is it happened in, like, 1 chapter in the entire book, and it's...
Wait, what? I thought it was like a huge deal in that. Oh, wait, no, because it's just the end, isn't it?
Yeah.
When they do the whole, like... And then we went back in time and did a Patronus thing.
Yeah, and then they got on Buckbeak and saved Sirius.
I watched that movie once when I was 10. I don't remember any of this.
Strangely made me want to rewatch the film because I remember the actors being really, really good at portraying their characters. And I normally don't care about the Harry Potter films at all. They're kind of just there for me.
Yeah.
I know that movie 3 was very highly acclaimed by critics, so...
I quite like movie 3, but, like...
I think from what I remember, there were good things about it. I just have a softer spot for the text. And...
Fair.
Yeah, so during the first half, I was kind of bored because they were building up the mystery, and I'm like, I already know what's going on, like, this isn't a big deal anymore, but then they get near the end where, like, Lupin sort of reveals who he is, and Sirius starts explaining, like, what the misunderstandings are, and it's all really exciting, and pretty much around Christmas time in the book where, like, I always love the description of the Christmas decorations around Hogwarts, and, when Harry gets his firebolt and starts going around, and I love that, like, he's clearly a very disturbed character with a lot of, like, darkness in his life and danger and stuff, but he's just like, I have to learn how to defeat the Dementors so that they don't knock me off my broom and I can win the Quidditch Cup, because that's what's most important to me, not actually saving my life, but, sports.
What an idiot.
But that's the thing a 13-year-old boy should care about, and I think that's something I love about the series, is they're like, oh, we're all gonna die, but how am I supposed to ask this girl out on a date? Like, I mean, it's normal life, and I appreciate that that's in there. Anyway, loved reading the ending. I'm really excited to read books 4, 5, and 6 again because they're my favorites. So, yeah, spent time reading Harry Potter again. And, it's been nice reading stuff that I'm not surprised by, because, and, like, watching shows that I've already watched before, because I've been working, like, 40 hours a week this past month. Just trying to,
Sucks to be
yeah,
you
just
then.
trying to pay off my credit card bills. And I'm like, I don't really want to start something new. I want to read Harry Potter again. Or,
And yet you're gonna start Mount Everest of books soon.
yeah, I'll be fine.
Oh, I can't
Mm,
wait to see you not read that for like a year.
yeah. I spent most of the month watching all 7 seasons. I think it's 7 seasons of Parks and Recreation. And I think it's my second favorite show of all time now.
I was gonna watch that show the other
Yeah,
day, and then I didn't.
why not?
Yeah,
Someone is like
because I
mowing the
realized I
lawn
hadn't.
behind my house, so that's being picked up on the audio. I
Classic.
apologize for that.
Wonderful. Um, well, I was gonna watch it, and then I was like, I still haven't finished Iron Fist, and then I watched 30 minutes of an episode of Iron Fist, and then I stopped.
I mean, Chris Pratt's the
So I'm
best
probably
character
just
in
gonna
Parks and
quit.
Rec, so that's enough incentive for you, I think.
Yeah, it's true, but he's not hot in Parks and Recs,
Oh,
is he?
he's
Isn't he
so
like?
cute!
Yeah, but he's not
Oh!
hot.
I think he is! He's in a band! I actually bought a t-shirt with the name of the fake Parks and Rec band.
Classic.
Yeah, I love it. It's my new favorite thing.
I criticize you, but I'm wearing a Shia LaBeouf shirt right now, so I can't really say anything. I bought a good shirt recently. You know, in the Team Thor shorts, the ones where Thor's just like hanging about with his
with
mate.
his roommate?
Um, yeah, you know how he has that board of like who is the big purple guy in the floating chair and all that
Yeah.
stuff, and he has a drawing of Mjolnir holding him wearing sunglasses. I have that drawing on a t-shirt, and it's like my favorite t-shirt now.
Oh, that's cute.
So
But
good.
yeah, I don't need to talk about how much I love Parks and Rec. It just always makes me laugh, even though I know the jokes are coming, and
Yeah,
it
I've got
makes me
shows like
cry,
that. It's
and it
just an
makes
easy
me
watch.
feel all the things that I feel, and I love it. I want to start it
Good.
from the beginning again right away, and not. I'm just never gonna watch a new TV show for the rest of the year. Which is valid because I watched the anime that Josh suggested, which was Flying Witch, and I'm so sorry, Josh. I only got halfway through it. It was 14 episodes, and by episode 7,
We're halfway there.
I'm just like, I'm so bored.
Living on a prayer.
I was so bored. Do you want to like
How
maybe pay
boring.
attention to what I'm saying and not make your stupid
I'm paying
jokes
attention.
like that don't land because that song sucks? Okay.
I'm sorry. Podcast ended, cancelled, podcast removed. Did you really just say "Living on a Prayer" is a bad
Oh
song?
my gosh. I mean, I love 80s rock, but really,
How dare you? No, tell me about Little Witch Adventures or whatever Josh
Flying
made you
Witch.
watch.
Um,
Yeah, I kind of knew. I was listening. It was boring. You got halfway through. It was boring.
Yeah.
I know.
I was bored. I mean, so it was about like this 16-year-old girl who's a witch, and she like moves in with like her cousin and her cousin's little sister, and she just has to live on her own and practice her magic, and and every now and then her sister comes to visit, who's like an older and more experienced witch and teaches her spells, and every now and then this weird new character will come in with a funny mask or a weird wolf face, and they're like, I'm the magical creature that brings about springtime, or I'm gonna like teach you this weird spell on how to cook food that turns you into an animal, or like, oh hey, I was walking by this garden and I found a mandrake, and it's ugly and creepy and really funny to look at, and I didn't think that kind of mythology honestly existed anywhere else, although I should have expected that. And like, she weirds other characters out with her strange witchy tendencies, and they talk to ghosts. And this whole time I'm just like, I should be enjoying this. I should think this is really
Yeah,
cute
that sounds quite fun.
and
actually.
really funny. But I just couldn't wait for each episode to be over. And I don't know why I didn't like it. I think that if it had been in English and I didn't have to focus on the subtitles, and if I could watch it passively, and like if it was one of those things that was on TV once a week and I just turned it
Yeah.
on while I was cooking or something, it would have been really cute and really fun. But it was not the kind of thing I enjoyed staring at and being like, what's going to happen? Like, even though all these little cute,
Yeah, that's
interesting
fair.
things kept appearing, I felt like nothing happened. And
Fair.
so I think it's a relatively new show, it's still in Japanese, but I think if they ever dub it in English, I would gladly give it another try. So yeah, got halfway through that. Do you want to talk about comic books?
I don't know. I could talk about comic
We could
books.
talk
Do you
about
want me
comic
to
books.
talk about comic books?
Yeah, because
I
you and I
read.
both read
I read.
Giant Days Volume 4 and Saga Volume 7, which are series that we both
Yeah, we
love.
did. What good series? Which one do you want to start with?
Let's start with Giant Days, because I don't really remember what happened, because I mistakenly thought we were on Volume 5, even though it's not out yet.
uh, they were looking for a house. That was what was happening in this Giant Days. They were looking for a house, and that was what else? Oh, they made a
They
film.
made a
That was
movie,
cool.
and they were all, like, acting really stupid, and then they got really competitive and mad at each other, and then when it was over, they were like, oh well,
Yeah.
we'll forget about it. And the person who won only won because, like, they lost the other footage or something.
Yeah. No, they only got into the film festival because they lost all the other
That's
films.
what happened.
What a stupid but beautiful
That comic is
series.
so doofy. It's just, like, each
Yeah.
story is, like,
It's so well written as
yeah,
well.
I
It's something I
remember.
realized the other day is that it's beautifully written female characters written by a dude. Because I was talking to my girlfriend and I casually mentioned that it was written by a guy and she was just like, "Wait, really?" And I was like, "Yeah." Because you don't think about it because you would assume if you were just reading Giant Days and didn't look at who the author was that it was written by a woman because it has such perfectly written female
Yeah.
characters. But no, it's just a guy. He's just a really good writer
I
who
think
knows how
it's
to write every character.
I think it's
good.
proof
Love
that
it.
you just have to be a good writer, no matter what gender you are,
Yeah.
and you can portray a character the
Yeah.
way they would be real. Because I see all sort of accusations like men can't write women and women can't write men because they do this and that, and I'm like, well, they have crappy intentions.
No.
Honestly, especially if it's a
Yeah.
romance novel. Like,
Yeah.
people know who their target audience is, and Giant Days' target audience is, like, awesome people who like to read awesome comic books. And each story is just like a silly little cartoon episode of college life, and
Yeah, it's great.
every
I
now
love
and
it.
then I think it's going to be really deep and really emotional, and I'm like, oh, maybe they're going to have some sort of, like, meaning to it, and that's very fleeting. But it's just there enough to be like, okay, these characters are real. They have real hearts and brains and real struggles,
Yeah.
but those struggles are fixed when they just, like, sew up a fancy dress and go to a dance and
Yeah.
drink and then go camping.
It's such a good series. I feel like we talk about it a lot, but that's fine because it's so good.
It's so good.
I think I'm growing more, and every single volume makes me kind of fall in love with McGraw as a character more. Just every single time, I'm like, this character is so good. He's like just the best guy because he's so stupid as a character, but I love him.
I think probably more
it's
than any
great.
other series, I enjoy rereading it.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it just seems most like an adorable TV show that you could watch the episodes over and over again, not get bored of them.
I would love it to be adapted to just like a sitcom or a cartoon with like 20-minute episodes or something.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. Just where each episode has no real meaning to the other episodes. They're all
And
just
I
like
still don't
wacky
understand the
little
title.
mini arcs.
Why is it called Giant Days?
Just is.
I don't get it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And then
And in
you jump
Saga,
to something that has incredible depth and all sorts of meaning and social commentary and, like, heartbreaking stories and like, too deep to read sometimes.
It's
You have
just
to set
amazing.
it down and take a breath.
I love Saga.
It's incredible.
It's just beautiful.
Although
I love how they're currently treating a trans character just as like a normal person.
yeah,
It's just cool.
Yeah, it's almost
she's just
almost
there.
like trans people are normal.
She's cool.
You know?
Yeah. She's just a character.
Yeah.
She's just a human. Well, I was about to say human being, but she's not because it's in space.
She's
But, like,
humanoid.
she's just a person that exists, and it's not like a big deal. It's just there.
Although she's
They mention
expressed
it
that,
once
like,
or
it's a
twice,
big deal
but-
to her because, like, she's met people and it's a big
'Cause
deal
it
to
is.
them. And, then Izzy's just like, who gives a crap? Like,
Whatever.
live and be happy.
There was a line where Isabel, the ghost, is like, "Do I look like I care what you've got between your legs?" And it pans out to the panel, and it's just because she's
got her legs blown off and her intestines are falling out.
And that was just such a good panel.
That
I
was a
really
really
enjoyed
good
that
line.
panel. But yeah, it's just a good series. If you haven't been reading Saga, I don't know how
Have to
because
read
it's like
Saga.
the best thing ever. I think if any, and I was talking about this the other day to my girlfriend, um, with regards to like comic books that we would like to see, and the fact that I want more comic book movies that aren't superhero comics. I want there to just be a whole bunch of comics that
I would love if
aren't
that was the
based on
next
superheroes,
like
and Saga should be the first one.
if that was the next
Like, can you imagine?
wave of movie ideas that came out. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, they've been making superhero movies for a long time, but I feel like there was a very large gap where not a
Yeah,
lot were
yeah.
coming out, and then Marvel Cinematic Universe came, and
Mm-hmm.
then DC tried to follow it up, and they're failing horribly. Um,
Oh, and they
and
failed.
then, I
It's
mean,
good.
it's going to be several years before MCU is done making movies, but like,
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be cool if there was like a wave of movie makers that came in and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, what about other comic books? Like,
Yeah.
what can we
What about
do
Saga? What
with
about Sex
Image
Criminals?
Comics?
What about
And they can't make a
like
movie about sex criminals. That would never go on
I think they're
screen.
making it. No, I remember them saying they were going to make a TV show about sex criminals, which I would love.
Well, sure, but, like it's gonna be on like HBO or something.
Also, if like 50 Shades of Grey can be a movie, Sex Criminals can be a movie. Come
I
on.
suppose.
Who wouldn't go and see a
I
movie
mean,
called
I would
Sex
see Sex
Criminals?
Criminals. I mean, it's a great story. It's really funny.
Yeah, it's great.
But I mean, talking
It's
about
got Chip
Saga,
Zdarsky's involved.
like,
I love Chip Zdarsky.
they've
Yes,
gone
no,
a-
Saga would be such a good movie.
they've gone
When
really
it's
far
done,
into
obviously.
their future, farther than I expected them to. You know, to the point where
Yeah,
Hazel is like 7 years old now, and like you get to see her
yeah,
interact with other children and see like how like society is kind of not really evolving like with the war because the war's been going on 100 years and like everyone's still being a
yeah,
fucking idiot, but just like people trying to live their lives and they're showing us how they are living
yeah.
their lives and getting by and it's
I think it's super cool because
hard to
I
live
thought like at
alongside.
the start I thought it was just gonna be like look after the baby and that was gonna be the whole plot.
Yeah,
Like the fact that
exactly.
she's growing and changing as a person and she is a character is like
Hmm.
really cool.
Yeah,
It's making the whole thing feel really dynamic,
and like even
like an actually flowing story.
Marco and Alana are like changing as people because you
Yeah.
always assume oh they're adults they're set in their characters but like Alana went
Nope.
like through some drug abuse and like Marco had his like struggles with whether or not his marriage was going to last and then they like separated and
Yeah.
came back together and they kind of had to like rebuild their relationship and you know
Yeah.
like people people changed and go through stuff no matter how old they are and it's
Yeah.
crazy to like live alongside them through a comic
Yeah.
book.
It's cool. I like it.
Also, that
It's
secret
great.
language they use, it's called Esperanto, and it's a universal language, and I'm learning it.
Nice. I'm proud of
Learn
you.
how to read it, and then I'm going to
Let's
read them all over again, and I'm going to understand the blue language.
let's not learn like a useful language like Mandarin or like Spanish or something. Instead, let's just learn Dwarven and the random language from
It's
Saga.
not
That'd be
from
good.
Saga. It's called Esperanto, and it's a universal language. It's used in
Ah,
lots of
okay.
different like fantasy like tales where they're like, we need a fake like weird language that this creature will
That still
speak.
doesn't make it useful. Learn Mandarin.
When am I ever gonna go to China?
Because Mandarin's one of the most spoken languages in the planet. It's just an
I don't want to learn to
example.
speak Mandarin. I like Esperanto because lots of different people in every single country speak Esperanto because it's a universal language.
You should learn Klingon from Star Trek. That'd be the best one to learn.
No, that's not universal. That's past our galaxy. That's not the right
You
word.
should learn Wookiee.
No.
Why wouldn't you want to be able to speak? Well, you can pretty much speak Wookiee. Like those screams that you do are pretty much Wookiee screams. Like,
I also read the new Flintstones comic that we talked a little bit about
if you actually,
last
oh,
month.
we talked about that last time. What do
Yeah,
you think? I
it
haven't
was
read it.
really good. There wasn't
Nice.
there wasn't much of a story to it. It was a lot of like individual scenes, like
Yeah.
kind of representing like different commentaries about like just how people are. Like
Yeah.
so this comic was about like Neanderthals coming out of like caveman lifestyle and starting to live in a society, and they're like, we're building
Yeah.
this thing called a quote society, and we're going to have a city, and everyone's going to have jobs, and we use those jobs to pay for things, and like this is how we all live, and everyone's learning how to get
Yeah.
used to it, and they're like, oh, we're supposed to use our money to buy this stuff, and the stuff is called crap, and the crap gives our lives meaning, and we have to fill our houses with it. But then they realize because all these vacuum cleaners and dishwashers and like painting sets and garbage things that they buy take up like they like do all their stuff for them, and they're like, now what am I supposed to do? Like what gives my life any like
Wow,
purpose
that's deep.
or meaning? And like different characters are getting married and like living monogamously, which was not the caveman way, and so they treat marriage like a lot of people in the recent past treated like the gay lifestyle, where they're like,
Yeah.
everyone's getting married and it's ruining my caveman lifestyle because it's different
Yeah.
and I didn't grow up with it, so it's wrong. And it's gross that people are living one man and one woman and raising a child that way. And and they're like, and Fred and Wilma go to like this marriage couples retreat, and these young people are there, and they're like, why should we get married? Like, why can't we just live together? And they're like, well, like, you could, like, you just do that if you want. And
so ridiculous.
And it goes into
this
like
is the Flintstones.
Yeah, and it like talks about religion and how they're
it.
like, we worship this like tiny little pterodactyl, and then the pterodactyl flies away, and they're like, well, now who are we supposed to worship? And they're like, oh, I'll find someone else, find this little elephant, and we'll call it Fred. And they're like, oh, hail Fred, because we have to worship someone because like you have to have religion in your life. Dang.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, so there's not a very like long overarching story that connects it all together. It's kind of like if it were a TV show, the episodes would be 8 minutes long, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was really fun to read.
Like, that's cool. Freaking Flintstones, come on. I didn't think you'd actually do it. That's amazing.
Well,
I'm glad.
it
I'm
seemed
really happy.
great.
That's good.
Yeah. Going back to books, I read another book of poetry by Charles Bukowski, which I read one of his last year, and I talked about it a bit. It's got very, very dark thoughts, very depressing thoughts. So this book was called What Matters Most is How Well You Walk Through the Fire. And it was a collection of poetry that he wrote but never released. And he told everyone to publish it after he died. So it wasn't very like captivating because a lot of the poems were just like him having shower thoughts where he's just like, I was at the store today and I saw a woman, she was wearing red shoes and she bought peanut butter and then I bought lettuce and then I left and the cashier gave me a really dirty look because he probably hasn't had sex in 5 years. And then I went home and I'm like, okay, like, cool. I mean, it's kind of funny because, like, you can tell he's just the kind of person that, like, puts his entire mind into writing, and, like, that's just how he... I don't know, it's funny, because I'll have those thoughts sometimes, but, like, I never really write them down.
Yeah.
But, so, yeah, I didn't love it as much as I loved the first book of poetry that I wrote, but I found out that he wrote, like, 48 books of poetry in, like, 35 years, on top of several novels and a couple autobiographical things. I'm like, this guy could...
the Stephen King of poetry.
I was just gonna say! He's a Stephen King!
Beat you to it.
No, I thought it first.
Doesn't matter. I said it, so you stole it.
I had the first brain moment. For some reason, when he writes, he doesn't use capital letters. And I don't know why. Maybe he's just lazy with his typewriter.
That's disgusting. That's disgusting. I hate that.
Yeah, he writes a lot about loneliness and a lot about, like how he notices that so many other people are trying to put so much interesting purpose to their lives when all he wants to do is, like, get drunk and go to the racetrack. And, like, he's got...
Oh boy, that's relatable.
Yeah. And he's got, like, all these women coming in and out of his life who he just wants to, like, have breakfast with and sleep with. And they eventually are, like...
In that order.
Yeah. And they're always like, you're boring and all you do is drink and gamble. And I don't like being around you because you don't give my life any purpose. And he's just like, well, only boring people get bored. He says that at one point. And I'm like,
wow.
dang. And
That's deep.
like he does seem like a pretty lonely, depressed guy at times, but he
Yeah.
also like notices that people like defensively hold on to their hatred and anger, and until
Yeah.
let's see, at one point he says like people just have to stay angry all the time because then like death has
Then
nothing
they
else
can
to
turn
take
into the
away from
Hulk
us.
because that's their secret.
Oh, you just talked over a really good line, and I'm really disappointed in you. Anyway.
I'm sorry. I'll cut my part there, so it's fine. I won't.
Yeah. You suck.
No, I might. I don't know. Who
He
knows?
has a lot of like curmudgeonly disagreeable lines where he speaks a lot of really harsh truths, and he's just like, you should just build walls around yourself and never talk to anyone because like people outside are like boring and like they're all just the same people and it's all the same story every day. You should just go in isolation. And I'm just like, dude, lighten up a little bit. And but I mean, he did write these things like with no intent of them being published, and he was just putting his thoughts down.
Yeah.
And he's got a lot of those dark thoughts and a lot of the kind that are like, hey, everyone around you is so depressed and they're trying to make you feel that way because they have to share their unhappiness and their sadness with you, but you need to like flush that away and just look out the window and let some light into your life and live through that. And I'm like, okay, he's got some hope as well. And I think you know, he kind of represents the, so I feel like a lot of writers when they're publishing things, they have like a personal brand or a personal philosophy, and they're like, this is how I
Yeah.
am, and this is how I think, and this is how my writing represents that. And I feel like that's not how people are. Like, one day we'll be thinking something, and the next day we're like, oh, actually, maybe it's this. Or the next week we'll be like, I was really sad last week, but now I'm kind of thinking that maybe things are this way, and maybe
Yeah.
I should do this in, like, or just in one moment we think something that we'll never think again. And people are
Mm-hmm.
very capricious and constantly changing, and I really see that in the way he wrote this. I mean, he didn't write the whole book, he just wrote a bunch of poems throughout his life, and they were collected. And I dog-eared like 30 of them. A lot of them were really good. I think
Nice.
one of my favorite lines was about how he's like, if everyone was crazy enough to just forget about trying to find all like intense meaning in their life, they would realize that there is so much joy in just drinking half a cup of coffee and staring out the window like it's the Grand Canyon. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Enjoy the simple things in life.
Nice.
Yeah, it's Charles Bukowski. He made me start dog-earing pages again and writing in my books with pen, and I am
Oh,
not ashamed.
oh, 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 that hurts.
Oh,
No,
hush.
I don't read books, but that hurts. How can you write in pen in a book?
Because that's how I enjoy it.
That's disgusting.
No, it's not.
I
I mean, to be fair,
no.
it's only certain books. This is a book of poetry, and I think it's fair
I mean, I
to
guess, but
mark my favorite ones and to underline my favorite lines so that when I take this book off the shelf and be like, I'm gonna, flip through my favorite parts again, I can like easily grab
I
at
guess.
my favorite paragraphs and my favorite sentences and think on them and like relate to them and then like have a discussion with someone about them. And I think that's the whole point of reading and like absorbing things and absorbing stories is like to be able to build on that and not just like close the book up, hoping that you didn't crease the edge and put it away forever and forget about it.
I guess, but at the same
At the
time,
same time,
things need to be pristine and in good
certain things,
condition.
I would never do that to a comic book, you know.
Good. You never like just draw a mustache on on Spider-Man or anything.
Well, maybe.
Maybe.
Like I probably
But
wouldn't do
only
that to
Spider-Man.
any novel. I wouldn't do it to like an antique book,
Good.
but like books of poetry and when I read Jeannie, which was that nonfiction book about like that girl who grew up without
Yeah.
language, like I dog-eared a lot of those pages because I was like, oh, this paragraph about language is really interesting, or this this court case was really cool. I'm gonna look that up later. So, I would mark those pages.
Fair
And
enough.
it helped me get more out of the book than I would have if I had just read it and forgotten about it.
Good. Fair.
Mm-hmm.
I'll allow it, but only this once.
Oh, good. Oh, shut up. Okay. Another TV show I finished this month. I watched that Anne of Green Gables adaptation that I told you about. I reread.
Right.
Yeah, I reread the book last year for this. It was only 7 episodes long, and they were like an hour long each. And I watched them all in one day, and it was really good. Like,
cool.
Not perfect, not fantastic. I really struggled with getting used to Amy Beth McNulty's portrayal of Anne when no one's ever gonna like live on as Anne like Megan Follows did in the original TV series. Even though it was a movie for me, but it was like 3 hours long.
Right.
So yeah, she portrayed her very differently, and I had to be like, okay, she's just adapting it from the original story from the book, and I think she's doing a good job. All the other acting was definitely very good. The lighting was beautiful. It was really pretty to look at. It was filmed in Canada, and there were so many scenes overlooking like lakes and like these rocky mountains and these fields, and I'm just like, I could just like turn the sound off and stare at this whole show. It's so beautiful.
Nice.
I've told you a little bit about like the Anne of Green Gables story about how she's this like freckled redheaded orphan who has been in foster care.
Oh, she's a loser, and
she loves to read, and she just lives on her imagination, and she just wants someone to love her. And they accidentally adopt her because they thought they were going to get a boy from an orphanage, and she's just like, "Oh, woe is me! My life is a graveyard of buried hopes." And they're just like, "Shut up! You're ridiculous!"
Relatable.
And she's like, but she finds a best friend, but she struggles fitting in at school because all the other girls are like, "Oh, you're just orphan trash," and like, we're from well-respected families, and we can't sit with you at lunch, and people make fun of her, and it's tough for her to be accepted into this like middle-class society because she's been exposed to so much horror as an orphan. Like, there's this scene where she's having lunch with girls from school, and without really realizing what she's doing, she starts talking about her previous caretaker and about how her drunken husband would often just like rape his wife, and like she could hear everything from the next room. And she's like, "Yeah, I don't know what was going on, but I think he was murdering her." And all the other girls are like, you can't talk about that stuff. Like, what are you doing? And she's like, wait, what? I don't, like, what's wrong? Like, she's never been taught, like, how to live in, like, a community. And everyone's just like, she's a bad influence. But then her, like, new adopted mother is like, hey, she lived, like, a really bad life during her whole childhood and didn't get to live as a normal kid. Like, you should excuse her for the things she's been exposed to. So, this adaptation's actually a lot darker than the book was and the original series was, because, I mean, it's written in 1908. They're not going to talk about, like, the rape scenes that she heard when she was a child. Like, that never would have been published, but they touched on a lot of the edgier things that you knew would have gone on, like, in this kid's life.
Okay. That's pretty cool, then.
Yeah. Anne's a very relatable character, even though she's hard to get past sometimes with how overly dramatic she is, but, she tried to ditch school once and go have her lessons in this little burned-down treehouse, and she had pine cones as friends instead of classmates. And I'm just like, she's so sad, but, like, I did stuff like that when I was a child.
That just puts the image of the SpongeBob episode where he's just like, the gang's all here.
With his fingers. Yeah. Pretty much.
It's good.
So yeah, that. And there was a little bit of mystery at the end of season 1 that I'm interested to see.
Ooh, spooky.
Yeah. It was kind of...
What is this? Is this a Netflix, or what is this?
It's a Netflix... Well, actually, they said it aired on whatever Canada's channel. ish.
Okay.
So I think they aired it weekly there, but it felt like a Netflix original series because it felt a little bit like the series of unfortunate events did, where they took the original
Yeah.
story and
That's what
they
this was reminding me of when you were talking about it.
they adapted it, but they also kind of added things to it without really changing it. Like
Yeah.
they like in a series of unfortunate events, they like expanded on the mystery and
Yeah.
like sort of gave like they put in new mysteries and like oh like that fits with the original story even though it wasn't in it, and we get to
Hmm.
experience something new, and that's
Yeah.
kind of like what the new like Anne series was like. It was called Anne with an E, because she always insists that everyone spells her name with an E because it looks much more refined than ANN spelled out.
Yeah.
It's a very important part of her character. Yeah, they added things without changing things, and I kind of appreciate when series do that because it helps them
Yeah.
kind of live and bloom in a different way.
Yeah, and it kind of, I guess it can update it to the modern atmosphere.
Yes,
Because it sounded like you were saying
exactly.
they were like modernizing it a little bit.
Modernizing it. Yeah, and a lot of people were like, "No,
That's
don't
pretty cool.
modernize it. Make it exactly how it's supposed to be." I'm like, I don't know. Get over yourself.
I think there's pros and cons of both of those. It depends on how well it's modernized, you know? Depends on how well they add things. Like, if they pull a Hobbit and they add terrible things, then don't do it.
Well,
But
yeah, and I
if
mean,
they
you can't
pull,
really
if they
modernize The
add the
Hobbit
good
either because
things,
it's in a different like world and it's still in the past. It's like, although
yeah.
it doesn't make sense because it still took place in like 1890. But
No, I know what you mean.
yeah, I'm just babbling
'Cause
at this
Middle
point.
Earth is like medieval kind of.
I
I
also
just want to
watched,
bring up the Hobbit because it's terrible, but yeah.
yeah, I also watched Star Wars again because I felt like it.
Yay!
Yay!
May the Fourth be with you.
No, I got my movies on May the 4th without not on purpose. I was just like, I really want to watch Star
Yeah.
Wars again, so I'm gonna order them on Amazon. And then on May 4th, I was like, oh my gosh, my DVDs are being delivered today! Hooray!
That's good. When are you gonna watch the prequels?
I don't know. At some point.
I want you to watch the prequels. I feel like that's gonna be a fun conversation.
All right, I guess I could do that. I'll have to
Have
find
you
them
heard
though,
the
'cause I'm not
tragedy
gonna
of
buy
Darth
them.
Plagueis the Wise? They have the high
Yes.
ground. Anyway,
I don't
that's
know.
people will get why that's funny.
I just
You
brought that
don't,
up
but people
because
will.
I'm I'm writing home the point that I haven't done anything new this month. I mean, I guess I watched Anne with an E, which was a new series, but I've I've read that book and I've watched the old series before, so it wasn't exactly new material. And I didn't finish Flying Witch, and I've watched Flintstones before, so that also wasn't new. And I've read Bukowski before, so
It
and the
sounds
Hobbit.
like this month you had a gay old time.
Yeah, okay.
Get it? Because the Flintstones. You said last month that you were going to play Breath of the
I
Wild.
did
What is
play Breath of
this?
the Wild.
Well, then talk about Breath of the Wild
I just haven't
then.
played enough of it. I'm still on the
How much have you
plateau.
played? Oh, okay. In that case, I don't
But
care
I'm
then.
having so much fun. I chop down trees and I bake
I know, it's
apples
great, isn't it?
and I just like run around trying to catch lizards, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm having so much fun not following the story. Like things keep
Because
popping
that's
up
how
and
that
they're
game
like,
works.
maybe you should go over to this mountain and get something out of that glowing thing, and I'm like, I don't want to. I want to pick up this branch and hit stuff.
No, that's how that game works. I've been playing it for ages, and I still haven't finished the story. And the story is super short. Like you could finish that story really quickly if you wanted to, but
Probably.
there's so much to do in that world. Like I don't blame you for not leaving the plateau. Like I could have spent like 50 hours on the plateau. I probably did. I spent so long because I wanted to get every single Korok and every single treasure chest that was on the plateau before I left. And I just I was
Yeah.
there for ages.
I've only found one
It's
Korok.
beautiful. It's such a good game.
It's really
Koroks are so
frustrating. I
good
want to
though.
find them because I still only have three.
Because there's
three
900
hearts.
of them.
I still only have three hearts, and I'm trying to get my like health up. And for the first like several
Is it a
hours I
spoiler
played
to
the
tell
game.
you that,
What? No, go ahead.
that's not what Koroks do? That's not. You don't need Koroks to increase your health.
I thought that's what Shay told me. I might be remembering
Shay's
wrong.
lying.
No, I
No,
could be
it's
remembering it wrong.
inventory, like how many swords you can hold and stuff.
Oh,
that
that's
Koroks
it.
do.
How do you get your health up?
But You have to do shrines.
Oh, okay, that's fine then.
So that's why you want to do the story.
For the
Right now,
first
anyway.
several hours I played the game, I just ran around in my underwear. I
Yeah,
thought,
so
yeah,
I considered going to Ganon and trying to fight him with like a zombie arm, but I just like I need to see Ganon
yeah.
for the first time and have a chance to beat him, so I've been saving it. I still don't know what he like looks like up close. Oh, I'm excited. Man,
Shay
that
was
game's
like, "You need
good.
to put the shirt and pants on because otherwise you're gonna get hurt a lot because it's armor." And I'm like, "This doesn't make any sense. They're like made of potato sacks."
Yeah, but like I feel like if you're getting hit with a sword on bare skin, and if you're getting hit with a sword on a potato sack covering bare skin, it's gonna help a little
I
bit.
don't think
Like,
so.
I think I know how swords and potato
I
sacks
don't know.
work, and it's definitely they're the same as skin.
My friend once told me that if I was a weapon, I would be the flat end of a sword,
Yeah, I can see it.
which
Or,
would
or
hurt
like a
much more on skin than it would on potato sacks. So you do have something going for you there.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild's great. I love it. You
Oh,
don't
it's
need
so
to have
pretty to
played that
look
much of
at.
Breath of the Wild to be able to talk about how good that game is, though. We could probably talk for hours just on the amount that you have played. Have
Yeah. I
you done
love.
any shield surfing yet?
Have I done what?
Shield surfing. It's like the best thing.
No, I didn't know that was a thing. That sounds awesome.
If you like, oh, I can't remember what the buttons are. If you shield jump and then press something else, you can just ride your shield anywhere.
But I
And
just
if it's like not slidey enough, you just stop. But like if it's raining and you go down grass, it's like the best thing ever. Or if you
like
don't go down a snowy hill, oh, love it.
if I could only say one thing to like try and talk about as much of the game as possible, I would just say there are so many possibilities.
Yes,
Like
they thought of everything. It's amazing.
there like every time you come into conflict or have to pass an
Hmm.
obstacle, there's like 10 different ways you can do it, which,
Yep.
is not I feel like it's not normal for most games. Like you have to follow a
Yeah.
formula and like I don't remember what I did. I was fighting certain mokoblins and
Hmm.
I think I set one of my arrows on fire before I like had an actual fire arrow,
Yeah.
and that like made them all explode or something. And like several
Yep.
times I did something, and Shay was like, "Oh, that's not how I did it," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's because this game's amazing." And I
I
think it's
once
so funny that you can like get burned, or like if you go too high in the
Yep.
mountains, you get too cold, or
Yep.
you know the way like certain things touch certain terrain, like
Hmm.
you can see them dragging along or the grass move in a
Puddles
certain way.
form when it
And
rains,
oh my gosh, it's just
and then they
it's all
slowly
so
dry. It's
beautiful,
amazing.
and it feels so real the way everything affects everything else.
Yes. I have a story real quick that I feel is like it's like my crowning moment of that game. I once had a mop in my inventory. I walked up to a group of bokoblins, set the mop on fire accidentally because I threw it through a fire. Like I was throwing it at them just because I could. Threw it through the fire. They were sat next to exploding blocks. That exploded. I was like, I just killed everyone with a mop. It was amazing.
Woo!
I was so
My
proud of
mom!
myself.
Yowski.
That it was like so early in the game as
Yeah.
well. I was just like, oh
Yeah,
my
you just said
god,
like
I love that
I
game.
did it because I could, and I feel like that's gonna be my
Yeah,
entire experience with this game. Is like I can do this, so
yep.
I'm gonna.
If you're ever in a lightning storm fighting someone, disarm them and then throw a metal weapon their way. They're dumb. They'll pick it up and then get struck by lightning.
Oh,
It's
that
like the
sounds
most
brilliant.
beautiful thing. I love
Oh,
it. Oh, I just there's so many like little intricacies to that game, little tiny points that are just so beautiful.
yeah, I don't think
It's
I've.
amazing.
I mean, I haven't played that many adventure games because I used to not like the idea of just having an open world that you could do
Yeah,
anything. Like I like direction and I like knowing what I'm
yeah.
supposed to do next. But I've in Breath of the Wild, like I know what I'm supposed to do next, but I'm just gonna wait a really long
Mhm.
time to do it. And I'm just
Yep.
gonna mess around, try to hunt some boars and like
Yeah.
steal apples from poor old Ben in the forest.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, it's good. I like it. I mean, that's kind of the case with all open world games. Is like you know where you have to go, but you don't want to go there. But Breath of the Wild just does it so perfectly.
yeah.
Like Breath of the Wild takes so many elements from other games and then just perfects them. It's amazing. I love
Hmm.
it. And the fact that you
Beautiful.
can just go anywhere. Although, if you go far enough, and this is one complaint I have about this game. If you go far enough, it does say, like, a little pop-up will come up on screen, and it will say, you can't go any further, and it will physically stop you. That's really annoying.
Aw.
Like,
Well, that happens in
some
real
area,
life.
like, yeah, but it just... Wait, what? No, it doesn't. It literally doesn't. What?
What?
I can't believe I believed that for a second. I was like, yeah, that does happen in real life. Wait a second. No, it doesn't.
What
What are
happens
you
if you
talking
try and go
about?
into a bar and you're underage?
Well, no, it doesn't. There isn't like an invisible wall with text that comes up and says you can't go any further, is
Yeah, it
there?
is. There's a bouncer with a weird t-shirt, and they've got, like, words on their t-shirt.
Yeah, but
That's a wall of
there's
text.
probably a really interesting puzzle that you can solve to get around that
Yeah, it's
obstacle.
called getting a fake ID.
See, real life isn't restricted like Breath of the Wild. Oh, what a good game though! I can't wait. Like, I think just every month we should talk a little bit about that game
I
because
think
you'll
we
have
will.
new experiences.
Because
Because I'm okay with
there's
doing that.
definitely
'Cause
no way
man,
I'm
it's a
gonna
beautiful
finish it
game.
in a month. I'll play it all year.
Yeah, it's good.
There was
Cool.
one
Is
point
there
when I was
anything else
trying to
you've
pick
done?
up a pitchfork, and I, like,
Yeah,
got caught between, like, the wheelbarrow and something else, and, like, I was trying
yeah,
to go around it, but, like, my character was glitching, and it totally looked like I was
yeah.
dancing, and I just did that for, like, 30 seconds. I was like, dancing
Nice.
around, da da da
Nice.
da.
Man, I love that game so much.
Yeah, I think that's, like,
Is that all? Is
I was
that
gonna
it?
say, I think that's all I've done since we last spoke.
Nice. Cool. I'm trying to think if I've done anything interesting that I can bring up,
Well, this isn't your
but
episode,
I don't
so
know.
just have to wait.
No, like comic books and stuff. I'm allowed to talk about comic books here. Why you gotta be mad? Oh, I read the first volume of Drax's recent series
Ooh.
where he just casually goes off on his own and it's all really like macho and like all of the characters are big muscly dudes, but it's also kind of goofy and like Drax keeps acting like, oh, I don't care about these kids that are getting kidnapped. I just want to kill Thanos. But really, he does care, and everyone's just sitting there like, no, you care. Drax, come on. But it's cool, like, because it literally opens with all the Guardians team just all being like, man, I got something to do, bye. And Drax is the only one who doesn't have something to do, so they all kind of like part ways, and he just goes, meh, I guess I'll go kill Thanos. And it's like the best opening ever because it's just so
Yeah.
Drax. And then he goes to try and kill Thanos, but he doesn't know where Thanos is and crashes into a planet, and then the plot happens. But it's good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was real fun.
How fun. I
It's
really
just
want to
like a
reread
goofy little
all
Drax
of
adventure.
Rocket Raccoon's series and all of Rocket and Groot's series and Groot's
Yeah.
little solo comic
I
again.
really like that Groot. So
And
I think
Star
it's really
Lord's
cool.
comics were great too.
Until they crossed over with Black Vortex, which was garbage.
That was a little annoying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what was the story by itself probably would have been okay to get through if they hadn't, like,
Yeah.
they separated it through like 5 different comic series. So you either had to
Yep.
like read them all or like read the Black Vortex volume, and
Yeah.
like which was just dumb. I don't know.
hmm
Stupid.
Yeah, just put it all in one collected Black Vortex book. Don't separate it all up into
Yeah,
other
which they
books.
did
It's super
eventually,
annoying.
but then you had to like get the background of what
Yeah.
else was going on in that comic volume to read each
Yeah.
episode or issue.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest problem with comics, and I think it's why I like a lot of the smaller series, like a lot of the kind of like Howard the Duck, Squirrel Girl kind of stuff, because
Yeah,
even when those do crossover, they'll put both issues of the crossover in that series, like when Howard the Duck and Squirrel Girl crossed over that one time,
yeah.
which was pretty good. You should read Howard the Duck. Why have you not read Howard the Duck yet? It's actually depressing.
I read like the first half of the first one, and I was like, eh.
Oh yeah, you did. You mentioned that, and then I blanked it because it made me dislike you more as a human being.
Maybe you'd like me more if I was a duck.
Oh, I would. If
Aw.
because when you go duck, you're always in luck, or whatever that line was.
What? Yeah, what was it? When you go duck, you never
It
go
was
back.
something like that. No, it rhymed. It had luck in it because it rhymed, but it was something along the lines of like it was a parody of the "When you go black, you never go back" line, but with duck and luck, and I can't remember what it was. It was something like that. What a good line. Anyway, we done here. I'm super
Yeah, I
ill.
think
I've been
we're-
ill all week. I'm tired.
We're rambling on. I think it's time to wrap this episode up. has been
Good.
QJ's Adventures. We will see you all around next time.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
QJ sucks. Doesn't like How the Duck comics.
Shut up.
What a loser.
Shut up, cat.
Likes Harry Potter. Harry Potter's
What
dumb.
about you?
Bye.
Bye.